Hey everyone, we are live, I think. Can you all hear me okay? Ooh, hi, not Sandy. Welcome in. Oh, Kevin's wife is live. Sorry. Everyone's talking about diamond painting. Hi, Michelle. Different time, Sherry. Diamonds around the world. Hello. I'm so glad you all are here. Sherry, I don't know if I missed anyone, but hi. So I'm gonna tell you all the happenings of it's actually been 2 weeks of craziness. Can you hear me okay? I hope you can, because I haven't had this set up in a while since we've been gone. So I hope everyone's doing good. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Marilyn. So yeah, it has been the craziest, hardest 2 weeks of my entire life. I'm so stressed I have the sore on my mouth now. It's never happened to me before, but it's been just one thing after another. Helen, hi. Marilyn, hi. Hello, Joanna. Can hear you. There was ads. Oh, I didn't even know I monetized this one. Either way. Brandy, hi. Welcome. And I just wait maybe until a few people come in. But yeah, it's been the hardest 2 weeks-ish of my entire life. So just to give you all a backstory, for those who haven't seen yet, my father just passed away, and other things happened since. There's Kerwin, he just came in. Sorry for all you've been through. Thanks. There's a lot you all don't know about quite yet, but we're gonna get into everything. Did you fix it?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just start off where how all of this began. So slight backstory. So my dad and I first met my dad when I was 12, right? So he was kind of out of my life towards the beginning, but then came back into my life with a bang. He was there for everything, especially the last 10 years. He came, gave me away at our wedding. He was there for all my kids' births. He came to my college graduation, but we've lived very far apart. He was in North Carolina. We were here in Missouri. Thank you, Sandy. So we were always distance apart, but we talked on the phone all the time. You all have probably seen him in chat every once in a while. His name's Todd Bryan. So yeah, that's my for real father. He's been in and out. He was just in the week before he passed, that week's live too. So it was so hard. And we lived far apart, but we always planned trips. You all know about the trip we had just went on. What was it, spring?
Yes, in March.
March of this year, we just went to North Carolina. He flew here in Missouri, and then we drove all the way to North Carolina to meet his sister, my Aunt Amy, for the first time. And I was telling you all, you can't cuss and stuff. They're very religious and very proper. So we just did that trip in March, met her for the first time and everything. And then we came back, and he planned to take me to New York in a couple months to go see Hamilton on Broadway. And so we were really excited about that. We had trips planned to go to get a cabin in the mountains and stuff with the whole family. And so it was all very, very unexpected. Thank you, Michelle. So yeah, it was Thursday, not last week, the week before, I got a call in the morning. Like I said, I had just met my Aunt Amy, and she has a daughter named Kelsey, my cousin. And they both called me on Facebook Messenger, and I'm like, this is weird. Why are they calling me? And so I answered my cousin Kelsey's phone call, and that's when she told me, hey, they found your dad, and he had passed away. And as soon as she told me that, I was in shock, what? There's no way. I literally just talked to him the day before. And then my aunt is beeping in on the other end, and I'm like, is this for real? I was still in very much denial. There's no way. And so my aunt is talking to me. She's a blubbery mess. And she was like, yeah, he didn't show up for work. He didn't call his partner from work, which just doesn't happen. So they did a wellness check. And so the cops or whatever broke into his home, got the front door down because they could see in his window he was just laying there. And so they got the door open, and that's when they found him, and he was passed away. But everyone had just talked to him it was completely out of the blue. He had health issues, I guess, but like nothing that was like detrimental. Like he wasn't acting weird the night before. Nothing was weird. He was just found. And all I could say is, how did this happen? Like I don't know why I was so fixated on what happened to my dad. I don't understand. Oh, this is hard to say the story. I just didn't understand why it happened. And the paramedics, all they could say was that it looked to be natural causes. And I was like, what does that mean? Did he have a heart attack? Did he fall? What was it? And they just said natural causes. And me being the person I am, I was like, that's not enough for me. I don't understand. Like, he was literally just fine. So it was hard at first. And it was hard for me to accept, like, holy moly, my dad is now gone. And it was hard. Oh, he was alone, but the way they found him, he was like, the way they described it to me, of course I wasn't there. I'm in Missouri, and they found him. He was on a couch with a blanket and a pillow, and his leg was like hanging like halfway off. So he could have fallen back, or I like to think of him as like he was taking a nap and passed in his sleep, but we'll never know, and I hate not knowing. I hate it. I hate it because he had like heart surgeries years ago. So like I don't know if it was that, it could have been a heart attack. And I hate not knowing. I despise it. But it was at the point where they made me decide. They said we can wait to do his funeral and services and then do an autopsy, but you won't be able to have an open casket service to do the autopsy, and I just decided what is knowing really going to do for me? And I would miss the closure, of the open casket service. So that's what I decided. So after the initial shock that we found out on Thursday, Kerwin goes into protective husband mode. Like, we have to get to North Carolina now, I'm just going to read some of these. Sorry to hear. Thank you. They'll never understand. I know. I understand went through the same thing with my best friend. She just passed away suddenly, and I had talked to her. Yep. That's how I felt when my husband passed. Oh, Marsha, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Ditzy. How old was he, sweetie? He was born 11/28/61. 61. How old does that make him? Quick math.
63. So 62, he'd be 63. He would have been 63.
He would have been 63 in November. So he still had lots of life to live. But like, I did this speech at the funeral and stuff. And like I said, I'm going to try to choose to be thankful because he missed a big portion of my early life, but he like really worked hard to make up for that. Like, he came to visit us all the time at college graduation, my wedding, everything. He just came up. We have this running joke that he always takes us bowling, and Zach hates bowling, hates it. But he still takes us every single year. Every single time he comes up, we go bowling, and we just saw him. Like, it went from seeing him maybe once every other year to like 3 or 4 times, like in the last 10 years every year. So it's just so hard. It's like we just really got close, and we had all these plans. So it really hit me hard. So, but after the initial shock, we found out we knew we had to get there. We knew we had to get to North Carolina. And, we own our own business, yes, but we are not, because we own our own business, things are always tight financially. And I'm not complaining. We would choose it because we have much more freedom, with our kids and everything. We had some savings ish, but like not even close to get there. So I want to say thank you to everyone who donated. We made a GoFundMe. I think I wasn't really a part of anything that happened since I found out because I I had so much brain fog and shock. But I want to thank everyone who contributed to that. So with that, we were able to rent a car and drive down. And everyone was so concerned about who's going to settle this account and do all this. And I was just like, I was still just in shock, and everyone was so concerned about his money. So my dad was a pretty well-off man-ish, you know. Never saw my dad for 30 years. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter how long you've been close. It's like what you do with the time that you're here. But anyway, so we start getting down there, and I was like, well, it's my responsibility to start planning this stuff. And his sister, my Aunt Amy, was part of the whole thing too. He was a veteran, so he was in the Army. And she was like, this is a good funeral home, and this is a good cemetery. And I'm like, okay, cool, but we're not doing anything until we find a will. Because for all I know, my dad wanted to be cremated, or there's some random family big thing in the woods that he wants to be. I don't know, because I don't know that part of the family. I had just met my aunt. I'm sure I have like cousins and other people that I haven't met yet. But I was like, we need to find the will. And so we're still stuck here in Missouri. We can't get on a flight because last minute flights are like $1 bazillion. So
and then there's transportation.
Transportation to get there.
We didn't
back.
know how long we were going to be gone, and
so we couldn't buy a round trip. We don't know how long this is going to take. Nothing scheduled yet. He had just died. So we settled on renting a car. That was going to be the most affordable way, and that would have the most like wiggle room freedom wise. So we got a car. We weren't able to get the car until Saturday. So he died Thursday. We couldn't even leave until Saturday, but we were able to leave. And so my aunt, man, I'm probably missing all sorts of parts of the story. So on the way there, we start the drive, and I was like, we got to start getting stuff planned. And I've never had anyone close to me pass away where I had to deal with any of this stuff. But there's all sorts of stuff that happened, y'all. Like, so much stuff. So he passed away, and he was in the morgue, right? So I had to contact the morgue. That's where his body was. And I had to find the funeral home and get those two to communicate with each other. Well, I couldn't get things set in stone with a funeral home until we could go and meet in person. And my dad's hometown was in Kentucky, Ashland, I think. Ashland, Kentucky. So we assume that's probably where he wants to be buried. We couldn't find a will anywhere, even though he told everyone he had a will. We can't find it anywhere. He had this space at the top of his closet where he kept like his life insurance policies, other random paperwork, but there's no will that says, hey, I want this to happen with this.
Well, there's all kinds of drama that Thursday night where we weren't even able to get that paperwork until
Oh yeah, backtrack a little bit. Right after my father dies, his business partner decides he's gonna take, I told you my dad had a stash on top of his closet of his paperwork and stuff, and his partner says, Todd told me if anything ever happens to him, grab his paperwork and take my car. This is what his business partner says to us. So his business partner goes into his home and takes all these papers and takes his car. Just takes it right out of his garage. So we knew that there was paperwork, but we couldn't get to it to see if there was a will. So that delayed us by 2 days? Get in touch with his business partner to get his stuff back. Be like, we need to find the will so we know how to proceed with this. Let me see. It's okay. You'll find it when you take a while to get all the things together. Yeah. So yeah, we still didn't know if there was a will, but we had to get things going because the morgue said, look, you got this many days to get things settled, or else, I mean, the body only stays good for so long or something.
So Amy gets all the paperwork finally, like 2:00 in the morning, Friday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Drives the 2.5 to 3 hour drive back to her house to start going through it, so they go home, take a nap, get up and start going through it. We find out Friday evening that in all the paperwork there's still no will. So that's when we make the decision, okay, we're going to go ahead and go with the military funeral in his hometown where he had talked about moving back to prior to all
he
this
was
happening.
all about moving back to Kentucky.
So we made that decision, but given that was in the evening of Friday night, evening our time, which is, an hour, it was even later in East Coast time. So was able to finally get the car for Saturday morning. So it's like, all right, get the kids situated, get them taken off. Worked on as many orders as we possibly could. We were up till 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't think we
slept Friday. Yeah, Friday we stayed up all night Friday night getting as many orders done as we could so we could leave with as clean of a slate as we could. So if you've been waiting on your order, I'm sorry. There's more to this story, trust me. So
we're working on them.
Yeah, we are working on them. So on the way to Kentucky or to North Carolina.
We get to where we have cell service because once you drive away from this house, there's no cell service.
We get to where we have cell service and start making the phone calls. The funeral home won't schedule anything with me until I can come in person, which is insane to me because we need him to be moved, to be embalmed and ready, so we have to meet them. So they're like, hey, can you be here tomorrow at 1? And we're thinking, well, we're going to have to drive through Kentucky anyway, right, to get to North Carolina. So we're like, sure, we pulled over at a rest stop, took a nap, and then finished the drive to where we would be in Kentucky at 1 o'clock. I called Amy and asked, hey, can you meet us here? It's like an 8-hour drive for her too. We all met there at 1 o'clock, got everything settled. We found out he had life insurance policies that paid for the funeral. And that's pretty much it, which is fine,
He had another one, but it was only 3 months old, so it only paid out little premium. So
if you had a will, it would be with a lawyer. You can call the local office.
We're getting to that.
Yeah.
We're getting to that.
So we knew that we could still search for a will, but the way the morgue told me, they're like, you got to get the show on the road, because you only have so much time. So we went and we met with the funeral home. They were so nice to us, and we wanted him to be buried at a cemetery. And I didn't even know.
Military.
Yeah, I didn't even know that the funeral home and the cemetery. I didn't know they were different places. That's how new to this stuff I was. So we get there and we arrange everything. And then at the end of we picked out his casket, the service. We did all that. It was going to be beautiful. I cried a bunch. And picking out the casket, I told the lady, I was like, I've never even seen a casket in my entire life. And they're all talking about this one seals from weather and this one has a vault. And I'm like, I will never know if the weather gets into caskets. I don't understand what it matters. I was a mess because they were giving me all this information. And I didn't understand. We ended up settling on this blue casket that was the same color as the Kentucky, whatever, his school colors, or blue. What is it? I don't remember, but it was his favorite sports team or something like that. So we settled on that. Then at the end of the meeting, she says, okay, now for him to be buried in this military cemetery, we need his DD-214. And I'm like, look, lady, I don't know what that means. I kept calling it a C3PO or whatever. And she's like, it's a DD-214. It's to prove, hey, you were in the military and you got to leave the military on good terms. It was an honorable thing to leave. And I was like, I don't know where this piece of paper is. I don't know. How long do I have? And she was like, well, we need it pretty quick. So I'm like, okay, great. My father has left me with this giant scavenger hunt. This is going to be great. So we go to Amy. She gives us all of his belongings, his wallets, his keys, all of that. They ended up getting the car back. You already said that. They got the car back and the paperwork back and all that stuff. So hi, Robin. Welcome to the crazy story and everything. So on his keys, we found a storage key, to a storage unit.
Well, let's give a time frame in here so you guys have a little bit of an understanding.
So we met with them on Saturday.
Met with them on Sunday. We were driving down. That's when we decided, instead of driving all the way to North Carolina, let's just go ahead and stop in Kentucky. It's about halfway down. We'll stop at Kentucky, meet on Sunday morning, or we had to meet at 1 so Amy could get there. and get all that situated. Then we'll drive down first thing Monday morning and start seeing what we can get down there. At about 7:30 Sunday night, we made the decision that we could not wait. So we just couldn't wait till Monday morning to drive down there. So we left Kentucky Sunday night at about 7:30. We got to Jacksonville, which is right on the ocean, at it was about 10
a.m.
10 a.m. And that's where we started this little scavenger hunt with the keys and stuff.
And then I saw my dad's car, and it was a super pretty car. It was like a Mercedes, like red hot rod. It was so cute. Anyway, so we found out he had a storage unit. We went in there. We found all sorts of cool things, like his high school Letterman jackets. We found this notebook he kept from high school, and this notebook is so funny. Oh my gosh, it was like a journal. And oh gosh, I don't even know what year. Whatever year he was a senior in high school. And like one of the pages read, I've never seen so many pretty girls in the halls at school before, bunch of foxes, and the selection is real between these girls. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we had all these mementos in the storage unit, but the main goal was to find out if there's any more life insurance policies or like important documents, his vitals, social security card, birth certificate, but most importantly, the DD-214. And we couldn't find it in the storage unit. He had all sorts of things in there, but not the DD-214. So we had to call all around places.
We stopped by 3 different offices.
We stopped by 3 different offices to try to get this document. And apparently, if you're in the military and you're discharged, you get this form, and you're supposed to turn it into the Recorder of Deeds. And everyone has access to it. It's great. So, hi, Grandma Ella. Hello. He did not turn it into the Recorder of Deeds. So it was still this giant mystery. We ended up getting the phone number to like the national something or another. And they had it, but they wouldn't give it to us because they said they only work with national cemeteries. The cemetery we chose was a state cemetery. And I'm like, this is the most annoying thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. So they said, get the cemetery to call us. So we did. We talked to the cemetery. They called them, got the DD-214. Everything's great. Ugh.
The cemetery, when we called them at first, was like, this doesn't seem like the normal way to do things. I don't know if I should call them. And I was like, it's not the normal way to do things. We got someone on the phone that's doing us a favor. Call them. They'll get you the form.
Yeah. And it just wasn't that easy.
It was about 4 or 5 hours of driving around and talking to different people on the phone to try to find all this stuff.
So he could be buried in the military cemetery, which is right in his hometown, next to the funeral home. It was fine. But we got it, and it was all good. So then, what was it, Tuesday? Or we got the funeral scheduled for Thursday.
Well, the funeral was scheduled for Thursday, but we finally got the DD-214. We got in the storage unit. We tried to get into his office because we're like, maybe he's got some people there. Couldn't get anybody to let us in his office. So we're like, well, let's head back to Kentucky. Let's get back there because we got to start working on funeral stuff. It's not just talking with the funeral home and going, there's stuff we got to do to prep for it and everything. Mm-hmm. So we leave Jacksonville and I start driving to get back to Kentucky. We got back to Kentucky at about 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Something crazy.
And then got a couple hours sleep. And then what'd you wake up to, babe?
What do you mean?
When we woke up Tuesday morning.
I don't remember what.
Amy freaking out because the funeral home called and said you might not be able to have an open casket.
Oh, yeah. So how many days have passed so far?
From when?
When he died. I think it's been like 6 days at this point.
5 days.
5 days at this point. So Dad is still in the morgue. And we wake up and, yeah, Amy's helping out. The funeral home called me. I missed the call. They called Amy. And they said, we don't think that you're going to be able to have an open casket. They just now.
Because they finally got him.
No, yeah, the funeral home finally got his body. They embalmed him and everything. And they said, I don't think you're going to be able to have an open casket. And I said, why? She's just said, too much time has passed. I was like, this doesn't make sense. We went as fast as we could. I don't understand. I was just so frustrated. And she was like, this lady was so nice. She was like, let me talk to our makeup people and let us try, and I'll call you back later today. And then you can come see him for yourself. My heart just sinks. Like I'm gonna see him,
One step forward, two steps back.
Yeah. We finally got the DD-214 and they're like, we don't think that you can have an open casket because it's been too long. So she did her magic. She said, okay, come on up and see him. And so we did, and it was my dad.
If we had been, she said if we'd been an hour later on the DD-214, we wouldn't have been able
1 hour.
We wouldn't have been able to use the cemetery. Due to the time it took to get it, we already had to reschedule the funeral to be an hour earlier than what it was scheduled for and advertised, and sent out for.
Mm-hmm.
Because the slot had already changed.
It was all chaos. We went up, we saw him, we had an outfit picked out that we took to the funeral home, and something didn't work with the shirt. And I remember seeing him, and they had to put the sweater on him. And I just remember me being so upset about this stupid sweater. Oh, it made me mad. I was like, that's not his shirt. Why is he wearing this? Whose shirt is this? Is this some other dead guy's? Like, who put the shirt on my dad? And I just kept talking about the stupid shirt over and over again. And I was like, I don't know. I decided the shirt was probably fine.
All right, let's pause there for a second because there is information we have not given up to this point that we got on the way down. Saturday. We're driving down Saturday, and I get a text on my phone from Crashly's mom.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that.
I'm driving, so I'm not really looking at my messages. She's looking for me because I'm driving, and it's her mom telling me that that Crashly's grandma is in the hospital with COVID, low oxygen, a hernia, and appendicitis, and is leaving it up to me if I want to tell Crashly or not because of everything going on with her.
Yeah, this was on the way down. Like we had just left. It was the first night we left, and I found out grandma's in the hospital with all these things. So that added to it. Anyway, so that piled on top of this pile of crap. Grandma's in the hospital. We're thinking she's not going to make it. He told me because he knows I would want to know. Grandma's okay. She's not okay. She's actually in rehab right now, and I think she's staying with my mom.
She's okay. She's not.
Her house is getting fixed up so she can get in-home health care, but she's going to make it, we think. So there's that. So where was I at in the story now?
We found out that we could have the open casket.
Yeah. So it didn't completely look like him. Like his face was bigger.
You were having your my girl moment.
My my girl moment about the shirt. He calls it my my girl moment because in that movie, the little girl's best friend dies and she's obsessed with getting his glasses because he can't see. Anyway, and I was obsessed with the shirt because it wasn't my dad's shirt. But I decided not to be a diva about it. So anyway, we confirmed we want the open casket. It's fine. It's all going to be great. And the funeral's scheduled for Thursday. And this happened, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday. Yeah. So Wednesday we were working on getting pictures on these picture boards. Found a bunch of him like when he was a kid and things like that. We did a bunch of picture boards. Talked to family. My aunt has this. They live in the country, kind of like one of their houses, and took us down some trails. We just kind of hung out on Wednesday.
Decompressed a little bit.
Yes. Family came in Wednesday night late. My cousin Kelsey that I told you about, she felt so bad for having to even tell me about my dad. She felt so guilty and I was like, don't feel guilty. But so yeah, family came in. We just kind of hung out, did the picture boards and stuff like that. And Thursday was the funeral. We had a few people did speeches. According to the funeral director, she said this visitation was like really long.
It was
really long. So we did like songs and speeches. I did a speech. It was fine. There's a perfect name for it. My girl moment. And it's not stupid that you felt that way. Yeah, it was crazy. But all these people at this funeral, it was so crazy to me because my dad and I grew very close, but I still didn't know any of like his best friends or like cousins, aunts, uncles, all like his side of the family I never met. And all these people just kept coming up to me and like hugging me, and I didn't like it at all. It made me feel I don't know how it made me feel, but it was hard to keep my composure. I think that whole time I was like a rock almost. Like I kept swallowing all of
Holding
my
back everything.
Yes, because my aunt is a very vocal, upset person. Like she wailed and cried, and like
Nothing wrong with it.
there's nothing wrong with that. I think that I felt that I had to be like
more centered one.
Yeah, more centered, because this is for my dad. I want it to be good. So I kind of just held everything back, and gosh, the visitation was so beautiful. The preacher or pastor, the dude, the officiant, the guy who speaks at funerals, that dude couldn't do it. So my Uncle Rob, Amy's husband, ended up doing the whole service, and he did so good. It was amazing. But right before like the visitation even started, the funeral director comes up to me and she says, we're not able to do the firing squad for Dad's actual what is that part called? Burial? You have the thing at the funeral home, and then you go to the cemetery. Mm-hmm. So the thing at the cemetery, he's in the military, so they're supposed to do this thing where they shoot guns in the air, you know, and there's a flag folding and all that stuff. And she pulled me out and she said, we're not able to do the firing squad. And I was like, what do you mean? That he earned that? Like, I was so upset. I was like, you keep coming at me with all this stuff. And this was all planned. He was supposed to get the whole military treatment because he earned it. So I was mad. And she said something about how the schools in Kentucky received threats or something. And so firearms, I don't know. I didn't really pay too much attention to the reasoning. I was just mad. But lo and behold, I had a cousin. Was he a cousin? Was he a step cousin? He was some family member. It was
your cousin's cousin.
My cousin's cousin. Good old Kentucky, yeah.
No, your dad's sister's husband's nephew. So there's no relation to you. It'd be cousin by marriage, maybe. Your dad's
whatever. Some guy was in the honors or the salute group or something. Knew somebody, called in some favors, and long story short, he got the firing squad back from West Virginia. They came all the way from West Virginia, all the way to Kentucky to do this for my dad. And I was very thankful. So after the service, we got to ride in this limo. I guess like immediate family got to ride in a limo. And I was fine. I kept my composure. I don't think I cried really at all at this point. I was very sad. I probably shed a tear. I think when they sing, "Oh great,"
you cried a few times.
"How great thou art," that dang song. Let me tell you, that song's ridiculous. Whoever made "How Great Thou Art," I'll tell you what, they had like an internal harp or something when they wrote that song, because it pulled my strings. Like, I don't know if that's what it was intended, but I kept it together the whole service until they made us sing "How Great Thou Art." I'm like, this is stupid. Stop crying. And yeah, I think I cried at that point. So we rode in the limo to the service, or to the graveside. And this is where all that holding back I did came loose. So it was so pretty. The cemetery guy came and said some things about respecting soldiers and this and that. And his casket was closed. All the flowers were on top. They said, oh no, then they did the shooting thing, which I didn't expect, but
and they played taps.
And then they played taps on the trumpet after they did the shooting. And as soon as the taps started, that's when, for me, it all started to just pour out of me. Like, oh, I was a mess. And I was still like trying to just breathe and watch what was happening in front of me. And these two soldiers, like my dad's casket had a big old flag on it. And these two soldiers get the flag. And they start folding it and making it into this triangle. And then one of them takes it and brings it to me. And I fell apart, man. I was like, I just started like wailing. And it was like, he said something like, on behalf of the president of the United States, will you accept this? And I did, I took it, but I couldn't stop crying. And all I could do is it was over. And they're like, y'all got to get out of there right now. Take some flowers from the casket or something. People took their flowers and everyone wanted to like touch me and be there for me. And I just looked at Kerwin and he like rushed me to the limo because I was ready to wail. And I did. So we took the limo back and had dinner with family. And that was the whole service. It was so much drama. But it was so beautiful though. And it's hard to see my dad go, but it kind of feels good to know that like it was so beautiful. And I think that like if he was here, that sounds weird to say, if he was here, he would approve of his own funeral, because like who doesn't? Taps gets me as well. Started bawling it. Yes. See, and Kerwin kept it together until Taps too. Like that song, just like How Great Thou Art. I don't know who writes these songs. They're probably the same person. Just kidding. I don't know who it was. But it's like they're intended to like, okay, you've held it back long enough, lady. Let me just play the song. Oh, it was awful. So I kept it together and everything. And I held on to this flag for like dear life. Like it was my life source. And so, yeah, that was the funeral. It was great. And so we went back to, it was great. It was a lot of stress. So we get back, calling mom to check on grandma. She's still kicking. She's okay. You know, just sick, and they
going to emergency surgeries.
Like, and I just while all this is happening, you now have an angel watching over you. And I feel that too, man. I do. So, you know, another thing when a parent passes away and they don't have a will, there's so much more drama that has to deal with settling their estate and creating an estate. My dad had just sold his house and was living at like this company house thing, an Airbnb basically, which is fun. But like, you know, he had some money. He put sold his house and he had this car, you know, so I knew he had some stuff. But you have to get everything together and you have to file. Well, apparently the executor of an estate, administrator of an estate, automatically goes to the oldest next in kin. So I am my dad's next in kin. I'm not the oldest, technically. I have a brother. His name is Corey. But Corey has not been in my dad's life 15 years. You know, I haven't even talked to him. I think I called him right when I found out Dad passed away. And all he said was, have you been drinking? Something stupid. Like, no, I'm just calling you to tell you he passed away. And he's made it clear he doesn't want anything to do with anything.
He said, just send me an obituary.
Yeah, just send him the obituary. I'm like, okay, cool. So, you know, I was fully aware I was going to have to settle this stuff on my own. And I was okay with that. My dad has done a lot for me, and I wanted to do this for my dad. So after the funeral, on our way back home, I tell Corey, hey, I need this signed letter from you saying that you don't want to be administrator of Dad's estate, so I can do everything. And he all of a sudden says, oh, I want my half. I want my half of everything. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh, it made me so mad.
It's not even what the paperwork is for. The paperwork's just so we can get the ball rolling, because he's refusing to leave where he's at and travel states to get done what needs to get done.
It made me so mad. And the way he put it is, if you find $20 in Dad's sofa cushion, I want my $10. And I'm like, okay, Corey. Like, he hasn't even talked to Dad in forever. He broke Dad's heart. Dad tried to, like, get back in his life, and he just wasn't having it. But he wants his cut of whatever the cake is that he thinks is there. Yes, but your dad was young. I understand that he might not have a will as yet. Well, he told people he had a will. I think there still might be one.
There might be one, but at the same time, I've come to find lately, that a lot of people confuse beneficiary on your life insurance as your will.
Yeah, so Corey thinks, he's like, I need to see all life insurance paperwork. And I was like, you're not listed. You are not listed on any life insurance policies. That would be me. I am. Not you, sir. So there was like, and he wants half of everything.
Which, he's entitled to his.
I guess he's entitled to it. Whatever.
It's not a big deal. It was just the way it was brought upon and stressful. It was the situation. Yeah, color. We've got lawyers in the family. We're on top of all that.
We're starting the process. We have to pay some bond thing because we live out of state, and I think it was $50,000.
We have to get a
fiduciary.
Right. Yeah.
We have to get an insurance company. Fiduciary. Airy.
It is what it is.
That thing. We have to go get that thing to pay the $50,000 for the bond because we live out of state, and we have to compile all of his assets and debts. We've been on the phone with like banks and stuff like that. Nonstop.
Like we drove back Friday. We got home as we're driving back, because all the stuff with Corey happened, and it was like that's not even what. We just got done with the funeral. We're just trying to figure out when we're going to be able to go back to start getting stuff organized. Money's not even, we're under the assumption that there may not, that there isn't any. We're just going to do what needs to be done proper. And we get back home at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Saturday.
Hi, Angel. Oh, hi, everyone on Discord. Hey.
3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, and I got to have the car back to the rental place by 11.
Yeah.
Saturday.
So the funeral and stuff is, we get back home. And while, like, the whole time we were gone, we had people that were supposed to be taking care of our cats, inside and outside. What is that name? I can't even spell or pronounce that name. Fiduciary. Somebody that pays the bond for probate bond. Anyway, so we had people that were supposed to be taking care of our house and the cats and everything. We get back, our house is trashed. It is trashed. And not like somebody broke in, it's like nobody changed the cats' litter boxes. I don't think the outside cats were fed, but maybe twice. It was all a wreck. And so we're just like, oh, this is all so stressful. This sucks. We're going to clean this all up. Well, Kerwin goes and checks the mail. What?
Well, yeah. While I'm checking the mail, you find something else.
I don't want to say that.
Okay.
One of the kittens we had inside died. I don't know how the kitten died, but it died. And I found it as soon as we got home, and it broke my heart all over again. Like, we just finally got back, and this is what I find. And it broke my heart. So as I was dealing with that, Kerwin goes and checks the mail, and he has a letter from CPS, Child Protective Services.
While we were gone, someone decided to call DSS and say the house was a disaster and that there was cat stuff everywhere and tons of cats. And while we were gone,
somebody called CPS on us about the conditions of our household. We read this letter, and we just start freaking out. We start screaming and running through our whole house like, oh my gosh, like
we left it fine.
It was
and it
fine.
goes to hell.
And then somebody calls.
And then someone calls because it went to hell. The only thing we can think of is during that time, my mom was taking the kids to school, and then they were riding the bus home to give her enough time to get off work and drive out here because she couldn't be to the school by 3:15, but she could be out here by 4. So that gave them time. The only thing I can think of is maybe one of the kids saw the house a wreck and said something at school, and that caused somebody to say something. But
so now I'm forced to shove all my feelings down of my dad and everything I just had to go through because, oh my gosh, my kids, like somebody out there thinks my kids are like in imminent danger or something. Cause like, who would do this to us? Like, who would do this? And I just, this is how this has been going. And so all weekend we're cleaning our house, and it wasn't like super bad to begin with. There was just like cat poo in some places because nobody sifted the boxes while we were gone. So, we cleaned all that up, and the house like wasn't dirty or anything. It never was dirty. Okay. Like, yes, we have a lot of cats, y'all, but most of them are outside. Okay. We have 3 inside full time. That's it. So, but when you have CPS, this doesn't happen to us. Like, we're not bad parents. Our kids are everything to us. Like,
yeah, go back and look at our Christmas videos.
Yeah, go back there in all of our videos. Like, we love our kids so much, and we take really care of them. And our house is not messy, so we clean all the yucky stuff up from when we were gone. But we found that when CPS is called on you, you start analyzing everything in your house because you're terrified. You're so scared of getting your kids taken away. And that has never been a fear of mine. It's never even been a thought in my head because I take good care of my kids and we take good care of our house. Like, but you start looking at everything like, oh, this wall has a crack in it. Are they gonna say something about that? Oh, this baseboard has a little smudge on it. Is she gonna think that that's something gross? Like,
and it didn't help that the letter said that we needed to contact them by that Monday, by the 16th, or else they were going to show up with police.
Yeah, they sent the letter while we were gone. We had no idea.
So freaking out about that, I set my alarm to get up and call. I emailed twice, called, left 2 messages, and I'm like, I'm calling again Monday morning because I contacted them prior.
Yeah,
basically.
And I'm a mess. I'm a mess at this point because I'm like, how is all of this happening at once? So we clean, and we clean some more. And Monday rolls around. I don't think we slept all weekend, and we hadn't slept the week before because we just got done burying my dad.
We drove.
We drove, and he was like, "You gotta sleep," and I was like, "I can't." Somebody, like, when you get these letters, all you can think about is somebody's gonna come take your kids, even though I think I knew in the back of my mind that's not in the realm of possibilities because we're good people. Like, we're good people. Our house isn't really messy, but somebody thinks it is. It's just, what the hell? Monday rolls around. We talk to the lady, and she tells us somebody sent a complaint about the conditions of your household. And I was like, oh, come look. When you want to come.
We wanted her to
come on.
Monday. We wanted her to come Monday.
Come right now, please, because this is like a bubble over my head. And she was like, I can come Friday. I'm like, this is on Monday. Now I got to wait till Friday. And the whole time until they come, and I don't know if any of you have ever had CPS call, but or if this is a common thing, you can't help but keep walking through every room of the house and over analyzing every little thing because they're your kids. They're everything,
So we're spending, keep in mind, this was Monday. So we're spending hours, both Crashly and myself on the phone calling every lawyer we can in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's not a small town.
For my dad, yeah.
Every lawyer we can, every bank we can, not just them, the 4 different places he's lived in or stayed in for the last 5 years to try to find this and still do stuff that we have to do on that side while also taking care of the kids and getting them to school and back from school and dinners and stuff like that, and trying to ensure that the house is spick and span perfect,
from top to
that
bottom.
there's not one little thing that they can look and be like, oh, that's unsafe. And it was,
and our house wasn't dirty. Like, in my opinion, there was a little bit of like clutter, like random stuff.
like our
But
Christmas tree.
their
was sitting in
Christmas
the
tree.
family room, never put out in the garage.
Yeah, like
stuff
on our,
like that.
we have like a second sofa.
Not sitting up, but
Yeah, it's taken apart like on, and I was like, are they gonna care about this? Are they gonna care about that? But there was like some clutter, so we got rid of like all the clutter, and I just.
And on top of this, the trip tapped us out.
Oh yeah, the trip financially completely tapped us out, and I'm not complaining. We're so thankful. We could not have even gotten down there if it wasn't for those who donated. Yes, like we couldn't have done it.
We wouldn't have been able to get back.
There's no way. Yeah. Like we might have gotten there, but then we would have been stranded. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. So anyway, we clean all week. We try to do some phone calls for my dad, and we don't know where to find all of his money or who he's paying. We found his cell phone. We have a cell phone, but it's a freaking Apple phone. We don't know his PIN number to get in his phone to check like who he's paying for what. So his phone was like a bust, and nobody can give us any information until administrator paperwork is filed. So as we're cleaning, we're still on the phone trying to like do a million things at once. And the lady comes out Friday, like 2 days ago, she comes out, and this lady's like confused. She's like, okay, so I don't see anything. She asked, have you guys been fighting? And at first I thought that she said, like if him and I were fighting. I'm like, we don't fight. Like, what? And then I blurted out, my dad died. I don't know why I even said that, but I did, because I thought she meant like, are me and Kerwin fighting? And if the kids heard yelling of sorts, like maybe they heard from that. But apparently this lady went to the school. She went to my kids' school and talked to the kids before, I didn't even know that she talked to my kids. And freaking Zach, I guess they ask her, how many pets do you have? And Zach says, we have 1 dog and 1 cat. And I'm like, he's telling me that he says this. And they said, if we walked into your house right now, what would we see? And Zach says, you would see a room that leads to another room. I guess that's how he answered him. And then you have Nora, her little butt says, we have a dog and like 1 million cats, is what she says. A dog and 1 million cats.
She's 9.
She is only 9. And I was like, Nora, why would you say that? And she's, I hate to lie. And I was like, 1 million? 1 million?
You have no problem with exaggerating.
Do you know how to count? Like,
that's gonna lie. Just be truthful.
And so, like, the lady comes out and she says, I already met with your kids. I'm like, good to know, lady. Good to know. She needs to talk to Maddox because she has to talk to everyone that lives in the house, even though Maddox is now 18. So there's that. She ended up asking us, so how many pets do you have? And I said, well, we have 3 cats inside. And she was like, well, and how many cats outside? And I'm like, And Kerwin's just like, however many show up, plus a couple raccoons and a possum.
3 raccoons and a couple possums.
That's what he says. Feels like we just put food out and we feed the cats, okay? Because my heart can't handle a hungry animal. I feed animals, okay? Sue me. My kids are safe, okay? They go to school, they brush their teeth. They're fine. Oh, yes, they contact the school and meet with the children prior to contact the parents so as not have you influence the children happen to us. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only good parent that it happened to. No, I'm not glad. That sounds messed up. I'm not glad that happened to you. Relatable.
It was a good funeral.
It was a good funeral. It was a great funeral. Is that a bad thing to say? I thought it was a beautiful service.
There you go. It was a beautiful service.
It wasn't great to have a funeral, but the funeral was. Come on. Stop messing with me. Anyway, I'm not glad that happened to you, Rhonda. But I find comfort in the fact that this also happens to other good parents, because like I pride myself in my kids. And she also asked, like while she was here, she asked us, so what do you do for punishment for your kids? And I wanted to say something smart ass so bad, like
tie them up in the back.
We tie them up. Yeah, we
have them sleep in a doghouse.
But I answered her honestly. I'm like, my kids are good. Like, they're really good.
Grab them from their phone or tablet.
But they rarely do anything that warrants grounding. Like, they're really good kids. They're respectable, and they do what they're told. They're just good kids. So anyway,
yeah, Rhonda, they can't. But based on what she said was reported, we've got it narrowed down to 3 people. And the majority of it's probably the school based on that.
Yeah. So we think that they're going to, she says that she's going to dismiss or close the case because she just seemed confused why it was called in the first place. I was reported when my kids were young. It was horrible. It's a horrible feeling, isn't it? And like, how about the feeling of not being sure who it is? It's like every time I walk in that school now, I'm going to be looking around like, which one of you assholes thinks they know me? Which one? Like, tell me who. And I just think it's crazy. If it was the school, why not tell? Like, you're not going to come to me with your concerns first. Like, unless my kids say my mom came at me with a knife, or I get beat, or something that's like legitimate danger, not like I have too many cats, or like if my kid smells or something, why wouldn't the school come talk to me and say, here's some concerns that we have and let me address them on my own? Like, I have a hard time believing it was the school, but that's just my professional opinion, because I feel like that we have a very small school, like a few hundred kids? No, more than that. Like, but there's like 3 different second grade classes, of like
she's in
third grade classes of like 20, 25 kids in them. So it's like not a ton. So I find it hard to believe that the school would do that to us. But anyway, that was all done Friday. And now here we are on Sunday. And it has been the worst 2 weeks of my entire life ever. Kathleen said, we moved. Yep. Moving isn't really an option for us. We live in Kerwin's childhood home. We have this building here that was like delivered on the property. I love our home. I love where we live.
We were able to buy a house before not being able to buy a house.
Exactly. Let me see, because the school are mandated to report to report what though? What is the school mandated to report? That's what I would like to know. And I'm thinking seriously about joining the school board, because like, if they truly felt my kids were in immediate danger, then there's no way in hell this lady would be like, okay, I'll see you on Friday. Why would she wait all this time? If they thought my kids were in imminent danger, why give me this gap of time I have to wait for you to come see my house? They're clearly not in danger. So it's all very upsetting. And I think that I was just already upset of what all I had to go through. But like, calling CPS on parents when there's no threat to the children before you even talk to the parents, that would be a different story. If somebody said your cat or your kids smell like crap, and they tell me and they still smell like crap a month later, fine, call a mommy. Like, I get it. You warned me. We talked. Fine. And it wasn't because my kids smell like crap. This is just an example. But for nothing, like nothing.
For Nora saying that there was poop on the floor while we were gone and somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do while we were gone, like that's...
I find it...
That's the frustrating
bizarre
part. Is it's all because we were on the other side of the dang country and someone didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Yep. So now we're going to have to go back to North Carolina to start this administrative, the probate process. My brother agreed to sign over his right to be administrator of the estate. It doesn't remove him as a beneficiary of the estate. Of course, he'll still get half of anything that's left. But looking at his stuff, I don't think it's like a ton. It's
Whatever's in his bank account,
it's something, but like it's not like $1 bazillion, you know. So whatever, I'll share it with him. But at least I can be in charge of making sure things are done properly and there's nothing left in, you know, the wind. I know he owed some money on his pretty car, so I don't know. But probate is a huge mess, and half these places won't give you any information until there's administrative paperwork, and yet to become administrator, you have to like know most of his stuff. It's just crazy. And it was important for me to come on this stream, for us to come on this stream with you all and, you know, tell you what all we've been going through. I think at this moment it's finally calming down, you know, but you have to understand how hard it was for us to have to come home to this, because we intended to come home and just kick some order butt and like laser focus, you know, that was our intent. And then the universe just said, nope, not today, not today. But now that side of it is over. We really are going to focus on orders. I don't know when we're going to be doing releases. Hopefully next.
It might be a week before we get new.
We might need a week just to catch up on orders. We do appreciate those who have kept ordering because it's been kind of keeping us afloat. But of course, business has been slow. You know, we haven't been marketing anything. We haven't released anything new. So we understand why it's slow. But I do want to say thank you to like Nicole, who kept like sharing our products and talking about us to help keep us, you know, going.
Huge
and
thank you to Nicole.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to Berta.
And Berta too. Yeah. All of you all that have been
Tia, Jen,
keeping our name alive in the community while we simply couldn't. We see you and we really appreciate you. Because we couldn't, you know, we couldn't do it. But we're back now, and we're going to try to like slowly move our way back into the community, being involved in things. But we will probably need a week, like we said, to catch up on orders. I think we're up to like I don't know what we're up to, like a bazillion orders. So we're going to work on getting those out first and foremost. We get messages every day about, you know, when am I going to get my order? But we understand. We're not mad at. Of course, you want the stuff that you paid for, you know.
Yeah, we're sitting about 200 orders.
Yeah, so we have quite a bit. So,
and just a heads up, guys. And if you message us on the weekends, especially this weekend, last responses, it's just been a lot to try to keep up with. So tomorrow morning when I sit down, I'm going to go through and do all the responses. I did get some orders done when we got back, but it was just, we couldn't focus on it. We had to focus on what was most important at the time.
Yeah. For people who don't follow your socials, you can export orders and send mass email to let everyone know, just in general. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Seriously. When it's beyond frustrating, please acknowledge you are good parents and they are closing the case. Yes, that's true. We got past that hurdle, although it doesn't feel like we're past it until I get that letter. She's like, you'll get a letter saying that it's been closed, but she verbally said that she was going to close it, so that's something. Hi, I know it feels to lose a parent. I lost my dad last year. I'm so sorry for your loss. But yeah, it's really hard because, like I said, I feel like I had to put my morning on pause to handle like the house and the CPS person, and so now we are laser focused on orders, and we're going to start the probate process. We don't know when we're going back to North Carolina to turn in all the paperwork. But we found out there's like other storage units and stuff that we have to go through, and we have to inventory all of his stuff. But when we go back, it'll only be for a couple days, and we have a contingency plan for orders for when that does happen. So right now, our focus this week is to get as many orders out as humanly possible. If you all want those that are in here, please keep sharing our stuff. We just went through so much stuff, and just know that we are trying. We are starting to calm down. My hurt is starting to feel a little bit better, but like just talking about this today is like the first time I like told the whole story out loud, I think, and so it's bringing back a lot of hurt. So it's still surfacing. But I appreciate you all hanging out with me, and it does feel good to talk about it. Orders are going to pick back up. Everything will be all right. You are so sweet, Joanna. One thing at a time. You have been through it all. Take a moment. Remember happy times with your father. I do. I'm going to cry, so I need to like stop doing this. And get a decent cat sitter. What a loser. Right? Virtual hugs. Thank you. I lost a dad in 1995. I lost my mom in 2005. I'm so sorry. And it's hard. It's really hard. But that's it for tonight, y'all. I'm thankful for you all being here to listen to my story, to our story, that what we all have been through. Laser focused on orders, and yeah, we'll probably be reaching out in the community, join our Facebook group, things like that. But yeah, we're here and we're back. So that's that. Make sure you subscribe if you're new and hit the thumbs up on your way out, y'all. Thanks for listening. I'm a blubbery mess again. Bye, everyone.